TSPN.
Hi everyone, and welcome to TSPN's News for Today. And today we're having the Board of Supervisors pre-agenda with Supervisor Richard Forster.
Hi Tom.
Welcome again, Richard.
How are you today?
I'm doing swell. It's a nice day. It was a little cooler, I think, yesterday. It
Yeah.
was in Pine Grove, and I enjoyed the day. Had a nice Father's Day.
Good. Yeah, I tried to. I did a couple things with my kids in the morning, but my wife had the flu, so summertime flu. Anyway.
Okay.
Tomorrow, the Tuesday of this week, we'll have our Board of Supervisors meeting on the 23rd of June, so our last meeting for June, and start off with what they're calling the 2014-15 Grand Jury Final Report. I'm not sure how final it's going to be. We'll go ahead and see, but the Grand Jury Foreman, Mr. Weatherford, will present on a couple of items that we've already been given access to. Normally we don't get the report till the day of the report, but we've already been given access to their findings with the, and they're calling it the Amador County Civil Grand Jury's Final Report. I've never heard it called a civil grand jury before, just the grand jury. So I don't know. This is a different kind of grand jury. They have different ways of thinking, and the items that they're presenting reports on our Public Health Committee on the Ebola outbreak and how our Public Health Department is handling that. They have a report from our Amador County Sheriff's Department and what's going on there with building a new jail. I know there's a couple things in here already we're going to have to look at and correct them on their findings. They say that the sheriff should continue to try and build a new jail. Well, it's not the sheriff that builds a new jail. He has a lot of input on it, but there's a lot more parties involved with building a new jail. And also the last thing is they have investigated our county air board, or air department, and the only problem with what I see here is they've addressed this to Jim McCargue, to the Amador County Environmental Health Department. The Environmental Health Department does not run the air board. The air board is an independent entity in Amador County. So it looks like there's a few corrections that are going to need to be made there. So we will talk about that tomorrow. Also, we're going to talk about Camp Silverado. Got any idea what that is?
I saw that on. No, I have no idea.
It's a formerly a Boy Scout camp, and this is to one side of Silver Lake.
Okay, well, I know the camp.
Okay, formerly a Boy Scout camp that was Camp Silverado Recreation. Now they're calling it Recreation Site Development Project. And interesting, our district ranger, Rick Hobson, has made some comments in here, and their preliminary environmental assessment has been released. It appears to be very deficient at this point. One Environmental Health Director, Mike Israel, has commented on it. He's not sure that they have direct authority, but in the past they've been asked to comment, and I think there is some authority from our Environmental Health Department here, but also on our Planning Department, our Chief Planner, Susan Grijalva, as well as our other Planning Department staff have comment on this. Aaron Bruce-Torrey from our Director of Public Works and Transportation has sent this in, and there's a lot of issues here regarding transportation, regarding in and out access. The road right now is not big enough, so what happens if there is a fire in there? So what do you do for fire access? Questions from Susan Grijalva went to there's contradictory statements in here that they're going to take out their sewage system, but then they're going to put another sewage system back in. They're going to take out a building and change the use on it. Well, her questions are, what does that mean?
Richard, has this camp been closed for a while?
It has been closed, and what they're saying is that they're going to refurbish this camp, open it up for the public, and allow them to make money in the process. Now they're saying that it's going to cost about $80,000 for the decommissioning of the site, and then they'll make a year about $20,000 to $40,000 annual revenue. They don't say what it's going to cost to do all the work that they have here, and I would estimate just by looking at it that you're looking at minimum a couple $100,000 of work that they're going to be required to do.
So it might be about 3 years or so before it breaks even?
Well, they're saying $20,000 to $40,000 annual revenue. So
Well, it
you're
would be
looking at
longer than that, then.
you're looking at 5 to 10 years before they get payback on this.
Who would be using the camp, Richard?
It looks like
Boy
the
Scouts
public, and that's the other question Susan Grahava had, is it says you're going to allow the camp for groups, but then they're talking about individual rentals. So is it group or is it individual? And it says they're going to have a person there running the camp. Well, you better add that cost on top of it too, because that's another personnel that's going to be there administrating it, unless you can get somebody who's already doing that for other camps to be the person. The way it makes it sound, though, is that there's going to be a person on site. So at this point, we're somewhat lost at their explanation and at their documentation. It's hard to follow at this point.
Okay, well, I've been at the camp several times when I was a Boy Scout. For the life of me, I can't remember the old name. I think it begins with a W, but I'm not sure.
Well, it was run by the Boy Scouts.
Right.
I don't know, Tom, if the old name was on there. What they've just called it in their reference is that it was a camp for the Boy Scouts of America. And you're probably right. It probably did have some Boy Scout name along with it. But I don't recall seeing it in the documentation.
I have a couple coffee cups from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't recall. This goes all the way back to 1952.
Right.
A special use permit was issued to the Boy Scouts of America, and they just called it Camp Silverado is what they call it here.
I don't believe that was the name, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Well, there's other camps up there too. So anyway,
right.
we'll learn all about that tomorrow. It'll be an interesting discussion. Our concerns go more to, look, the county should have responsibility here for public safety, for public health, for everything down to food inspection if they're serving food.
So would this be owned by the county, or is the county
No.
being
This is
asked
all U.S. Forest Service.
Okay, so why are they coming to the county, Richard?
They want to let the county know what's going on because it's in the county.
All right.
But also, the county really has authority, I think, in some areas to go in, like when they're putting a public wastewater system in.
Okay.
Like when they're serving food on site. I think Mike Israel has had interaction with U.S. Forest Service in the past. But of interest to us is the road that they're taking out. Is there going to be, is it safe for people in the event of a fire? We just got a fire up in the Markleyville area right now.
Oh.
Well, when those things happen, people have to have ingress and egress very quickly to get out of a place. So.
That's for sure.
Okay.
All right.
Now, next up, we'll have Jim McCargu in to talk about our refuse rate adjustment program for ACE's waste management. This is a rate adjustment methodology, or RAM as we affectionately call it. This is rate year 8, and they've gone through the whole process of laying out, okay, when this started 7 years ago, this is the process we went through. You have a base year that more study is needed, and then you have a couple of years. About every 4th year, you go into a more complex rate study, rate index study based on the numbers here and based on the factors, your fuel, your labor costs, and things like that. In this case, ACES proposes what their rates, what they think they should be based on their costs. The county brings in our consultant who has been doing this for quite some time, William Schoen with R3 Consulting, and he goes through ACE's numbers and determines that maybe they're a little high here. Most of the time they're not too low over here, they're too high over here. So I think he's taken off about $60,000 of expenses that they wanted to claim, and we come back and we end up with our raw numbers. So what do you do then? The problem this year is that for some reason, and it has to do more with the amount of customers than anything else, the District 2 area has not very many customers in the Comanche area. Quite a few people down there, but it depends. Those numbers, you take them versus the rural Jackson area, and they're not as high.
They're so close to the landfill, they do it themselves.
But those, the Area 1, which is Jackson, the increase came out to about 3.6%. Area 2, which is the Buena Vista Comanche area, came up to 17.5%.
Oh.
Well, that's a little high to give people. That's a shock is what it is. So the Area 3 which was upcountry, is about 2.14%. What they did is they basically put more of the cost on the transfer stations and less of the cost on the areas where pickup is required. So the average is going to be proposed at 3.95% for areas 1, 2, and 3, and 6.92% for Pine Grove and Buena Vista transfer stations. The committee that this went to, the Public Works Committee, felt that was a reasonable approach that Mr. McCargue and Mr. Schoen, working with ACES, came up with. So that will be the proposal at the meeting.
Okay. And we have 1 minute before the break.
Okay.
We'll move to the next. Or?
Recommended budget. We might roll this one over into after the break, but basically we've gone through all the numbers. We know about where things are with our budget this year. General fund contingency, we're going to set that at about 2.7%. We like to be at about 3% with that, so that'll go at $1 million. The total revenue that will be expended this year is $36.9 million. That's up from last year's 6.3%. Reason being, we have those one-time monies that came in. So you know what, they're one-time monies, we're going to use them for one-time things. You cannot go and put them on ongoing expenses, otherwise next year where's the revenue to pay for it? We're showing increases to reserve of about $1.7 million and showing a transfer to our road fund of about $336,000. With the cuts that have taken place in because of gas tax and people just naturally buying less gas.
We're going to be back with that, and we'll discuss the budget when we come back, so stay with us right here on TSPN.